I am also here to share some great news with you. So we got another, now today we got a VAWA green card. We also got a VAWA approval. So I'm going to tell you the difference between the two, both of them excellent news. But ultimately, when we get to the green card, it means that we've reached the end of our journey with the immigration process, getting the green card for our client. So our client can rest assured, reassured that they can now be residents of the United States and then become citizens within 3 years of getting that. So I'm going to tell you about these cases, and just in case if you can relate to these cases, then you know that you definitely have a good chance of approval here, especially with our help. Hi there, Landa. It's nice to see you. Um, so put your questions in the comments. I'm just going to quickly tell you about our experience getting the VAWA green card. We got the approval right here, got the VAWA work permit. Now, you notice I said at the beginning, oh, thank you. You notice at the beginning, I said that we got a VAWA approval and then we got a VAWA, in a separate case, we got a VAWA green card. That's because the VAWA process comes in two stages. So first, you get a VAWA approval. That's usually the biggest challenge, is overcoming the VAWA approval. Once you've gotten the VAWA approval, it means that you are well on your way to the green card. Right now, they are issuing these green cards without interviews. So the VAWA green card that we got without an interview. So with this case, with the VAWA approval, what's going to happen next is the case is going to be passed on to the local field office or the National Benefit Center. They're going to likely send a request for evidence for the medical. Hopefully that's the case. Most of my cases, that's what's happening. We're getting requests for the medical, and that's usually the biggest hint that all they want is the medical to be able to approve the green card and send it by mail. That's what happened in the VAWA green card that we got here. So this happened, I would say, within 5 months to up to a year after the VAWA approval, you would be able to expect the green card to come after, of course, fulfilling all the requests that they have through the request for evidence. In some cases, they may even want to do an interview, but so far, what we're seeing is they're moving ahead with approving the green card without interviews, as long as they have everything that they need to get that done. All right, so go ahead and put your questions in the comments. Now, with these cases, not one of these cases involved physical violence. I just want you to understand. As a matter of fact, a majority of the cases that I have do not involve physical violence. Instead, they involve extreme cruelty, verbal, mental, emotional, financial abuse, not physical, because physical abuse, even though it is definitely exists, I want people to understand that nobody should be subjected to any kind of abuse. So one is not better or worse than the other, right? If you are being mistreated, you are experiencing damage to yourself, trauma to yourself, with the emotional, mental, verbal, financial abuse. Yes, it is. The trauma is mostly in a place that's unseen, right? It's on the inside of us. However, with the physical, it's internal damage, through the trauma. But of course, sometimes it involves outward showing of violence, right? And sometimes even with physical, it doesn't even show a mark on you. For example, I say, when I'm going through interviews with my clients and I say, have they ever hit you before? And I get the answer no. But then later on, it will come out, well, the spouse shoved me to the side. Nobody is supposed to be putting their hands on you, even if it's to shove you to the side. That is a form of physical violence. That's intimidation. Nobody is supposed to do that. So that counts as well, right? So even if, yes, you didn't have any injuries, you had no outward showing of physical violence, or you had no physical violence involved, but you were subjected to other types of mistreatment, it does count here. So these two cases that I have that were approved did not involve one single instance of physical violence. So now, what it did involve is isolation. So the spouse, in this case, isolated my client. When they were stuck in the house because they were here in the U.S. without any way to get around because they were depending on the spouse. So guess what? The spouse would come in with food and not offer the spouse any, and they were in a helpless situation. They could hardly leave the house. They had to start asking relatives to get food for them or to bring them to get food to be able to eat. That's depriving your spouse of food. If you're going through a situation where you feel like you're always being deprived of something that you need, deprived of your necessities, that's a form of extreme cruelty. In addition to that, it's other forms of intimidation. If they're forcing you to do things that you don't want to do, and then bringing up the immigration process as a crutch to get you to do that thing, whatever it could be, anything that they want you to do. They could want you to pick up something off the ground, and if you said no, you're not going to pick that thing off the ground, and they say, okay, I'm not going to file those papers for you. That is a form of extreme cruelty. They're using your immigration status against you. Even if they told you, pick that thing off the ground and you didn't want to do it, that's intimidation because they're trying to force you to do something you didn't want to do. So I would even say in this situation, they don't even have to bring up your immigration status. It's the effect that it has on you that counts as extreme cruelty. So in these cases, that's what it involved. It involved isolation, manipulation, blackmail, financial abuse, food deprivation. And as I said before, it's not locking somebody up in a room and saying you can't have food, but through their actions, they know that if you don't have a car to get around and they come in with their own food, but they don't come in with food for you, and you're in an apartment or a home without access to be able to just get up and get food for yourself or cook food in the house, that's food, that's depriving you of food. So something even where you may be going through it, it is definitely brings you to tears that you're going through it. I want you to know that there is relief. There is relief for this. Nobody should be doing this to you. So it's really fulfilling to be able to call my clients and tell them that they now can, they can continue because we've always been continuing without involving the spouse. It's a confidential process, but to know that they're almost at the end of their journey. One of my clients is at the end of their green card journey. One of my clients is anywhere from 6 months to a year away from her green card journey. That is so fulfilling to know that we could achieve that with them being able to gain peace of mind, independence, and choice in the matter. They have this option, and this is not dependent on that relative, in these cases, the spouses that mistreated them. All right. So I told you about those two cases here. So once my client gets the VAWA green card, by the way, they have 3 more years to get citizenship. So their journey will continue in a shorter period of time for citizenship. All right, so I'm going to answer questions. Put those questions in the comments so I can answer them. Hello there on YouTube. I see a number of them. Thanks so much, Candy. I appreciate it. Um, Good morning. Hi there, Temitopi. It's nice to see you. Is it VAWA case coming quickly now? So the VAWA decisions I'm not seeing moving any faster, but I'm seeing the green cards coming very quickly after the VAWA approval. So hopefully we'll see the backlog for the VAWA petitions move forward soon. Right now, they're anywhere from 2.5 to 3 years, which is nerve wracking, especially for my clients that are waiting for it. Yes, they have their work permit. Yes, they have their travel document, but they want to put this behind them at the same time, and they can put the spouse behind them or the relative behind them for a bit, but then they want to be able to know that they get to that green card and they don't have to deal with this immigration issues anymore. So I'm hoping that they clear the backlog soon, because once upon a time, these cases would be 6 months, but now we're seeing 2.5 to 3 years. But what I'm seeing is once it's approved, it moves very quickly from there. I have a VAWA CO9 category work permit. When VAWA approved, I got C31 work permit too. Yes, so both of them are still valid. You can still use both of them. Um, can I apply for the I-131F? So when you're dealing with VAWA, this is what I say. VAWA gives you the same thing, if not better. It's better than the PIP. When you're dealing with VAWA and then you're applying to immigration saying that you're married, yes, you're legally married to the spouse, but keep in mind that this is on a case by case basis. And if they see a VAWA pending where you have submitted evidence of mistreatment, maybe even evidence that you're separated from the spouse, it may raise some issues about one, the credibility of the VAWA application, or it may raise questions about whether you can move forward with the PIP process, seeing that you are going through VAWA. So it's I would say here it's really duplicative, because with the PIP, with VAWA, it allows you to still fix your papers. You still, even if you enter the country without permission, it allows you to fix that. So PIP, if you enter the country without permission, it allows you to fix that. VAWA does the same thing. It allows you to fix the situation if you enter the country without permission. If you have a permanent bar, you may even be able to overcome the permanent bar with VAWA. You can't do that with a PIP, right? So PIP is still not going to get you to the green card, because if you have a permanent bar, it's going to stop you from getting the green card. So that's also one thing to keep in mind. So I would say here, tread very carefully when it comes to applying for the PIP, and you've already applied for VAWA. That can potentially, depending on the facts in your case, it can potentially compromise your VAWA and undermine the credibility of your application. You'd have to be prepared for that. How many months does it take before a case is granted? I would say 2.5 to 3 years for VAWA. If someone is filing for a VAWA case and after 5 months they divorce, can it affect the case, or she need to report to the VAWA office or not? Always keep the VAWA unit updated on any changes to your marital status. And no, it should not affect the VAWA filing unless the divorce proceedings show contradictory information. Then that may raise an issue, because it's public record and they do search those public records. They're going to find the divorce. And if they find anything in the filing that contradicts anything that you've stated in your application, then that could be a potential conflict. But if everything is true and correct, then you shouldn't, that by itself shouldn't affect the case. And many of my VAWA petitions that are approved, my clients apply for divorce while the VAWA is pending. Notice date 12/27/2022, VAWA transfer notice. When we count the 3 years from the 12/27/2022. Now keep in mind, I am giving estimates here. When I say 3 years, do not take that as a matter of fact, if you go to the VAWA if you go to the VAWA website, I mean the USCIS website right now, and you look at the processing times, it is actually 40 months, right? That's goes to show that I'm going based on my experience with my clients' cases, that these cases are taking, my cases are taking about 2.5 to 3 years. But what they are saying is that about 80% of their cases are complete by in within 40 months, right? So it means that not every case is going to be 3 years. So please don't hold me to it. I have no control over USCIS processing times. And if you want to submit an inquiry regarding your specific processing times, you're going to have to check the USCIS processing times, and when the appropriate time to submit the case inquiry is going to be after 40 months, not after 3 years. So you just have to keep that in mind. After receiving a green card by VAWA, when can I get married again? So it depends on the facts here, whether it's advisable to get married. If you receive the VAWA green card, there's nothing saying that you can't get married. You cannot get married right after you get the VAWA green card. But it also depends on the facts here. So, you'd want to, is it advisable? Would want to understand your facts. I would like to know regarding the new rules for T visa this coming August 28th. Is that executable, the work permit, while on process? So, no. Keep in mind that that work permit is issued after they've looked at your case and they've said, okay, yeah, we would definitely approve you. However, guess what? We've ran out of visa numbers. So we're going to have to put everybody who is waiting for visa numbers to get the T visa, we have to give them a work permit and give them deferred action until they can get the visa number. Because with the T visa, and this is why it's also very important, if you qualify for this, don't walk, run. Okay. The reason I say this is because they only issue 5,000 of these a year. And the cap has never been reached, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to happen this year, because the rate of approvals have increased substantially. And that means, and this is based, the rate of approval has increased substantially because of the changes in policies that they've implemented to help officers to really look at case files, to understand the patterns of traffickers, that traffickers aren't just people that sneak you across the border and force you to work or lock you up. Traffickers come in different forms and do different things to force you into working. So, now the definition of trafficking and the things that the officers look out for to determine whether trafficking occurred in your case is much broader, which means that the approval rating has increased. So we might see the cap come. And when the cap comes, they're saying here, the new regulations are spelling out exactly what to do. And that's going to be to grant deferred action, and you'd be able to get the deferred action until a visa number becomes available. So that's what that is saying there. Can I marry my boyfriend before applying for a T? He's the father of my two babies, and if I'm approved, I'd like him to be a derivative. Yes, absolutely. Our clients have done that, and they've really had a happy process, and you know everybody has been happy because yes, the spouse gets their paper at the same time that you get your approval. All right. I am going through I-130 approved, PIP approved. Next is I-485 only. What other form? You're gonna have to file all the forms, the required forms. If it's based on marriage, you're still gonna file the I-130, the I-485, I-765 for work permit, I-131. I sent my VAWA application 2 weeks. US says how many days I received my receipt? About within 2 weeks. What happens when you can't find as joint sponsor to adjust my husband's status? Then you will be denied. If you can't find, you have to either show you're exempt or you have to find a sponsor. My asylum green card application is taking too long. Can you please so too long means you have to put in a case inquiry if it's after processing times, their average processing times, and in some cases it may even require a lawsuit. And there are attorneys that focus only on those kinds of lawsuits to get cases moving forward. Mhm. How long T visa if filed in September and count a year? Can I still do my oath ceremony if I lost my green card? So I have had my clients lost. My client never got their green card from they became a permanent resident. Not never got the green card, and we still went for citizenship, and they were approved. So yes, it's possible. My case I-765 is transfer jurisdiction. How long? How long? Let's see. I must have missed that. I have deportation, but I get married with a U.S. citizen 15 years ago. We're still married. So waiting for. So that may be a PIP, the new Biden PIP law that has passed. So get in touch with us because we're filing these ASAP. I got a I-290B rejected. How bad is that? So if it's after the deadline, then you could miss your opportunity for the appeal. So it can affect, it just depends on the facts here. Can I still do my oath ceremony if I lost my green card? Yes. Do you get your visitor's visa back if you get divorced from U.S. citizen spouse that filed? Mm, that's very great. Likely not. Um, no, you make sure you get legal advice about how to move forward, your rights here, and you may be able, if this is based on your spouse mistreating you, you may be able to apply for VAWA. So get in touch with us to know what your options are. My husband applied I-130 2 years ago and nothing. I'm here in the U.S., so that's pretty long for an I-130. Let's talk more about it. I did my green card interview on the 6th of this month. It was approved on the spot. They say 2 weeks. Yeah, so you should receive your green card very soon. Congratulations. My immigrant case asylum remove. I apply for VAWA. How can close my asylum removal case? So that's you're gonna have to work with the council, opposing council on that one, and there's what's called a joint motion to terminate that we usually work with, apply for to submit a joint motion. If that doesn't work, then we submit the motion ourselves, and the court decides. My case I-765 is transfer jurisdiction. How long to get the work permit? Still, a transfer isn't gonna tell me that. How much time does it take to get the travel authorization? It could take anywhere from 6 months to a year, depending on your case. How long takes I-131F processing time? I submit the case. So it can be usually when we work with PIPs, you have to do biometrics and then wait for a decision. Usually 3 to 6 months. Now keep in mind this is new, so we have to see what the pattern is with this for processing times. My I-765 is transfer jurisdiction. How long to get the work permit? Oh, I answered that. That wouldn't tell me. I'm a citizen, got married to a man from my home country, got abused by him. What do I do? So in your case, if you're the citizen, then you if you want to leave the situation, you have the freedom to do that. So it's a little different from the cases that I work on. I'm so sorry that you went through that. But if you are the US citizen and he's outside of the country, if he's here in the country, then you have every right to walk away from that situation based on the abuse. The in it's you have all the right, you have all the decision making capacities to not participate in this green card process. So um, see a family law attorney for sure about your rights and possible separation. 6 months since I filed I-130 for my spouse. What's the delay? So it could be up to 12 months to get a decision, 9 to 12 months. When I refile I-131 parole after deny, how long do they take to approve, so that I wouldn't be able to tell that the case would start over? I'm on a J1 visa and would like to change to work visa. How do I go about that? You'll likely need an employer to do that. I had a relationship with someone. I was about to get married. We already made application. Um, so I don't see the rest of it. All right. Okay, so here I am now on Instagram. I'm going to work my way through questions here. Um, how much time should a person wait to file for a green card after marriage? There's no rule that says you have to wait a certain amount of time. There may be, it just depends on facts. So I'll tell you one case where waiting is going to be recommended. So if you got into a relationship with someone who got their green card through marriage, and it's been less than 5 years since they got that green card, and less than 5 years since they got divorced from that spouse who got them the green card. If they married you and went straight to file for you, there is a presumption that they must deny your application unless you can show by clear and convincing evidence that your marriage is your marriage is real. But not only your marriage, you also have to show that the previous marriage was real by clear and convincing evidence. That is a very high standard to meet, and that means that there's a very high denial rate. But not only that, it increases the risk that they may reopen a can of worms and then determine that the previous marriage was not bona fide, that there was some form of fraud. So the risk is very high there. However, if if you're married to a citizen or a permanent resident and there's no such history, then what I would say the best time to apply is when you've gathered all the documents that are required to show that your marriage is bona fide. So, say, for example, you've been with this person for 2 years, you've lived together, you even have kids together, and you just weren't married in a traditional wedding, but now you got married in a traditional wedding. So you have everything already. You have 2 kids, you have a lease, you have a history together. So guess what? At the day after you get married, all you need is a marriage certificate. Boom, you can submit that application right away. But if, say, I like to use this example, say you go to Vegas on a Friday, you meet somebody for the first time ever, but you know that they're going to be the love of your life. You're going to get married to them. You have no hesitation. So, guess what? You get married in Vegas right there on Saturday. And by Monday, the both of you now are deciding what you should do to move ahead with the paperwork. Well, what you should do with moving with the paperwork is hold off on filing until you start to build your life together, until you figure out where you're going to live together, until you figure out how you're going to pay your bills together, till you figure out those things. Once you have that documentation to show that you've established some form of life together, then you file it, which could take, 2, 3 months, maybe less, depending on how quickly you can get everything together to file the application. And then continue to gather those documents, because they will look at how short-lived the relationship was, and they may have additional questions. So as you build your life together, continue to gather documentation to show that you're a bona fide couple. So you see the difference between the two, and that's how you should approach it. What's the processing time for I-130? I'd say 9 to 12 months. Please hold. Can I get a work permit and residence as a visitor? As a visitor, with a visitor's visa, you're not supposed to get your work permit. So that's one. Now, what has happened is I've had clients who come in on the visitor's visa and face certain circumstances, like they've been labor trafficked, like they were lied to or lured into the country on their visitor's visa in order to work for somebody, or by some intimate partner that ended up treating them more like their slaves. In those cases, that meets the definition of trafficking, and they end up getting their T visa, even though they came in on a visitor's visa. But coming in on a visitor's visa alone is not going to get you the TV, isn't going to get you a work permit. You can't just go print a work permit, because remember, when you got your visitor's visa, one of the conditions of that visa is you're not going to work here. So, that is actually a violation of your visa. If you want to change over to a work visa, you have to get an employer who can sponsor you to give you your work visa. Hi, what is a T visa? I just turned in. Oh boy, I could do a whole live on this. All right, so this is what I say. T visa gives you relief. It gives victims of labor and sex trafficking relief. So under immigration, the definition of labor trafficking and sex trafficking is broadly defined. And this is where I say you definitely need to call me to see if you qualify. If you've been in a situation, any situation with anybody that forced you to do something against your will that you did not want to do, but you felt you had to do it because maybe they were using your immigration status against you. Maybe you felt intimidated. Maybe they told you you didn't have any other choice. So you did whatever they told you to do. It's time to give us a call and talk to us, and we can evaluate your facts to determine whether you could qualify for T visa relief. T visa relief gives you 4-year work permit and the ability to apply for your green card. How long it takes for early adjustment of status after T visa approval? About a year and a half, and it also depends on how soon you work to take action on the early adjustment. Please, can you tell me how much time person should wait to file for green card after marriage? I went over that. Do you have to be married to file a VAWA? Yes, unless you're the parent of a U.S. citizen 21 or older, and that U.S. citizen child is the one abusing you, or you are the son or daughter of a citizen or a resident who's mistreating you. You're under 21 or under 25 in some cases. Can I start a 5-year work permit process while I'm in my country? No, work permits are only for those in the country. Okay, so if a person you're dating let you overstay your B1, B2 and promised to get married and didn't do, what actions could be taken? So it depends on the extent to which they committed fraud against you to tell you, stay, I'll get married, we'll get married and get your papers. And then what did they make you do, right? In exchange for them saying they're gonna marry you, which is yes, you have an intimate partner, that's fine for them to propose marriage, but what did they get in exchange for that? Did they start to tell you that in order to stay with them, you had to do this or that, and you didn't want to do it, but they started to blackmail you into doing it, holding your status against you. Did they hold your passport? Did they hide your papers? Did they start making you want to make you clean their house? If that's the case, then you can qualify for the T visa. All right. All right. USCIS misgender me on my EAD that they sent me on March. I sent a request to fix it on April and no ED yet. How much time will I get a new one? So I've seen, and this is can be very frustrating because when it comes to replacing the card, it could take, up to a year to get that card. Unfortunately. All right. Let's see. Question. If I file for my son at 16, can he file for his, I'm thinking that's mommy now at 25? And if so, will he need an approval or document from his petitioner? So if he's a US citizen and he's 25 now, he can file for his parent without, involving you or getting papers from the petitioner. But green card holders can't file for their parents, so he has to be a citizen. Do you have to use a work permit to get the green card? No, work permit is not what get you the green card. What gets you the green card is your status. I accidentally clicked the wrong birthday on my I-131F application, but my ID picture I submitted shows the correct birthday. Is that an issue? You should definitely let them know so that they can make that correction or catch on to that. I got my green card last year through VAWA. My ex was a citizen. How long will I have to wait to become a citizen? 5 or 3 years? It's 3 years. Can I marry my boyfriend before applying for a T visa? Yes, absolutely, you can. I would like to know, so I answered that. After receiving a green card by VAWA, can I get married again? So it depends on your facts here. For the most part, there's no rule that says you can't, but always make sure that you get legal advice about that. All right. And I'm going to answer a few here. Bless, good afternoon. Can I get your number, please? Want to talk to you. So go ahead, call the office. The way that this works is you'll have to schedule a consultation. You can schedule a consultation with me or Attorney Bria, and then we can definitely evaluate your case. Attorney Bria and I work closely together. Now, to do that, if you scroll to the top of this comment section, you'll see the number at the top there where my name is. I have a VAWA C09 category work permit. When VAWA approved, I got C31 work permit too. So yes, you can get 2 work permits because you have 2 things going on. When is a pending I-130 transferred to an I-360 after applying for VAWA? So it officially transfers your I-130. It's still pending. What gets transferred to your VAWA is going to be your work permit, your adjustment of status, and your travel document. Those get transferred over to the VAWA process instead. Hi, what does it mean when after interview your case is returned to NVC? So I'm not sure what happened there. I'd have to understand the facts to be able to explain. My asylum application removed. I applied for VAWA. Can I be eligible for travel documents? Once again, this does get complicated, and you really should get an attorney because to get give you legal advice, because keep in mind, one, when you apply for asylum, you have to submit specific facts about why you cannot go back to your country. And if if you're basically saying you can't go back, right? And if you apply for VAWA now and all of a sudden you're going back, that can raise problems, and that can raise questions of fraud, whether you submitted a frivolous asylum application. So it can definitely lead to more severe consequences, because if they find fraud, or that you submitted a frivolous asylum application just for the sake of getting a work permit, for example, then they could bar you from ever getting a green card. So you wouldn't even be able to get the green card through VAWA. So you have to make sure that you're taking all of this into consideration before applying for asylum. And then when you apply, because how do you overcome then that assertion in your asylum that you're saying you can't go back to the country, but yet you're applying for a travel document to go back to the country? So it presents a big risk to you regarding the outcome of the asylum and the VAWA. I am an American citizen. Can I file for my spouse without having my naturalization certificate? You can use other things to prove you're a citizen. Your passport, for one, is another proof of citizenship that you could use. Is there a risk to travel from Phoenix to San Diego if I have an approbation of sister's citizen? So I'm not sure. So in this case, traveling in the country, the risk is not zero, but the risk is also low that anything is going to happen unless you are on the priority list for deportation. Those who are on the priority list for deportation are those who are a threat to public and national security. Though that is the focus for anybody who's going to be detained. But if you're not there, if you don't have a criminal record, for example, or deportation, or you don't have an outstanding warrant to be detained by ICE, then the risk is a little lower for travel. Now, and that can also depend on the laws, that any future laws that could be coming in the future. What I would say is right now things are looking good, and hopefully it stays that way. Can you apply for PIP if you're a widower? I'm so glad you brought this up. Yes. So in the detailed regulations that they released, they did say that widowers can apply. So widowers of US citizens can also apply for this. Can you, as an undocumented immigrant, get married to an immigrant, then apply for TVs and include the married spouse? Yes, absolutely. The spouse can be included in the application as well. But keep in mind that they still look for fraud. So you have to make sure that you're not just getting married to somebody to help them get papers, that you truly are entering a bona fide marriage with this person, and this person then will happen to get the T visa with you. But they do look out for any indications that there is some kind of side marriage going on to help somebody out. How do you know what year USCIS is with VAWA approval? So they don't have, while they do go by priority dates to give out the green card, they don't have, they just basically give you a general idea of the time it's going to take, but they don't have a chart that says where they're at right now with VAWAs. I had a VAWA for 5 years. I just applied for green card. I didn't know I was approved. How long will it take? It could take anywhere from 6 months to a year. Hey, what if I was told I need a disposition from my country and I didn't get one? I gave them a letter from the court and my case has been pending for almost a year. What can I do? So this is a little more involved, and it would really, take basically take the attorney taking action here. So it's not something I could sit down with. Now, keep in mind, I'm not your attorney. I'm not giving personalized legal advice. If you need personalized legal advice, this is where you need to schedule the consultation and let's talk, schedule the appointment with me or Attorney Bria. Is it quicker to file documents or is the Dropbox faster? So I'm not sure what Dropbox. Are you talking about the USCIS? It depends on the case time. I'm married with an American citizen 2 weeks after her second divorce. So it depends on the facts. If you got married to a US citizen 2 weeks after her second divorce and she applied for all her spouse's green cards, then you need to be careful with that because they are going to scrutinize that case. Um, I filed VAWA, prima facie April, I-485 biometrics August. What can I expect next? Probably the work permit. All right, that's going to be it for me today. Thanks everyone for your time. These are always great questions. I am going to be back tomorrow, so look out for me and then you can continue to ask your questions. All right, thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day. Bye bye.